We are Group 1
Songs
of
Chapters.
13 to 15.
Okay. So we're going to start off this Socratic seminar on chapters 13 through 15 with a simple broad question. So how does Milkman's desire to find his family's history affect his self-worth?
Well, if you remember yesterday, Mr. Vogel's class, he was talking about the 2nd Cavalry Division and how they blew it back then in the 1700s. And then they had the battle during the Vietnam War, and then they were thinking about the history and how they blew a whole battle. I guess your self-worth is going to be affected because you have the history. You already knew what happened, and you don't want history. Even though you know history usually repeats itself, you don't want it to repeat itself. So it's going to make you your thought process different because you're trying to avoid history from repeating again. Even if it's bad history, you're really trying to avoid that. But good history, you may want what's called strive to do it again, but make it better than what it happened before.
I like what George said. Notice how in the beginning of the book, Milkman is devastated at age 4 to learn that human beings can't fly, and then he goes through his life so indifferent and through like self-pity and such. And then at the end, he learns that one of his relatives is famous for flying, and that kind of like that just makes him feel good and helps with his self-worth.
Do you guys think that things said to us by, I guess, adults at a younger age could affect how we perceive things the rest of our lives?
Yeah, because like I was reading a kids health magazine, and they said that kids' development from ages like about 6 months off-ish to about 3 years, they're like absorbing almost everything you hear in forms. So you're telling them something like humans can't fly from the age of 2 when they understand you. It's going to be stuck in their head almost like for the rest of their lives because that's when their brain's absorbing all that information you're telling them.
Yeah, going back to the movie that we just watched, first period, I forgot what it was called, but
An Inconvenient Truth.
The Inconvenient Truth or something like that. And he talked about how his classmate in 6th grade, Al Gore, talked about his classmate, and he said that they were looking at a picture of the world, and one of his classmates raised his hand and said, do the continents fit together? Did they ever fit together? And the teacher said, no, it doesn't. And he made the joke about how he later on become a drug addict, but they realized that they used to fit together. So that's just an example of how he was right, but a teacher told him, no, you weren't, and his whole life fell apart.
Well, I say it depends on how exposed a person is, because sometimes not everyone will understand like a concept because they're not exposed to it, and if you're exposed to it, you'll understand it like a lot better, and you can explain it to other people, but not all the time does adults make sense to younger viewers.
Or it can be tone of voice. Like, if somebody aggressively tells you that no one can fly, then you'll always be like, okay, it's true, nobody can fly. But if somebody's like weary about it, like no one can fly, then he'll go see that you can be able to fly. Depends on the person.
That kind of takes me back to what we were talking about in TOK yesterday about the quote. I forgot who said it, but it was about the tickle. And my response was basically like, because in our minds we think, the feather's gonna tickle us, we're scorning the feather, like we don't want to be touched with it. We're already, like acting as though we're being tickled with it already. Like that's just our mindset. But it's like it doesn't actually tickle, but because we're telling our minds that it's gonna tickle, as soon as it touches us, we start laughing and giggling as though it tickles. Before it even touches us.
It's all a matter of
people mimic the reactions of others. So like if you see someone get tickled by a feather, you'll assume that it's ticklish. Like your brain will automatically think it's ticklish. And I think that pertains to children too. They mimic the reactions and emotions of their parents, and that probably explains Milkman's lack of compassion towards the world, because I guess he's mimicking his father.
But is that kind of bad? Like if you keep lying to the children, like sometimes it's for their own good, but if they grow up thinking with that mentality, especially like when it comes to racism, you're like, oh, all black people, they're gonna come and shoot you, or all like Hispanics
they're immigrants here, they're taking our jobs, and then they grew up with that mentality, and that they should be racist, and they're so prejudicial, and there's like nothing that can change that. So is that good for us to like put those thoughts into the children's minds and put those lies, not just like those types of lies, but like my mom, she I don't know what she thinks. Like she's just tells me like the most weird stories, and I'm just like, Mom, I know more than you. So she's like, it's like they're ridiculous. They're just, I don't even know how she can believe them herself. But then she goes on and tells my little sister, she's like 5, and then she's just like, oh, really? And then I'm just like, no. So, and my mom's like, Blanky, why are you so mean? Like, she's just like a little kid. You should let her like be whatever. I'm like, she needs to start learning about like the truth, the reality of it all, instead of like putting all of that nonsense into her head.
Not entirely. I don't think not entirely, because sometimes if you put a child an ideology into a child, it's sometimes for a good reason. For example, Santa Claus. We all know he's not real.
Yes, he
But
is.
He's not real.
He's
not I mean, but it's like the purpose of telling the children, I think, is to like make them like live in a fantasy.
No, but if you I think that's because the children
Wait,
is not always
like,
good. Materialistic. Oh, Santa Claus is gonna bring you a whole bunch of toys if you act good.
Okay, then they'll
I mean,
good.
It's okay to twist the truth sometimes.
I don't think all the time, because my mom grew up telling me that the tooth fairy was real. So like every night, like my mom would take the tooth out the pillow and put $1 under the sheets. When I wake up in the morning, she'll be at my bed smiling. So I'm thinking, ooh, like what's going on, you know? So one day I was cleaning my mother's drawer and I found all my teeth like in there. And I'm like, I'm crushed. I'm like, yeah. I'm crushed, like I'm sitting here thinking, why is my tooth in here? Like, is my mom the tooth fairy? Like, I was like, I don't know what's going on. And that kind of ruined like the whole mentality of fantasies. Even when you would tell a child, oh, if you act good, I'm gonna take you to Chuck E. Cheese. Like when my aunts tell my little cousin, I'm like, you're not about to go to no Chuck E. Cheese. Sit down. So like, I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of ruins my whole fantasy.
It's like
I think
it's
that,
like
like,
the higher you rise, like sorry Esther, the higher you rise, like the larger the drop, so it's gonna hurt more.
Yeah, like a lot of parents. Oh my God, I did that again.
No, I said I think that kids, there should be a line between what they see, I mean their perception of things, and reality. Like I feel like you're in a sense robbing them of their childhood if you just tell them the truth and nothing but the truth. Like they're like part of your childhood was filled with lies. So if we're saying that we should take away the tooth fairy, and we should take away Santa Claus and all these things, then you might as well take away everything else that's fictional in their lives, because that's a lie. No, I'm saying that some of these beliefs, some of these fictional characters actually instill good ideas into kids, even though they find out later that they weren't true. It's part of your childhood. It's part of what makes you guys were kids once, and you had Santa Claus. Imagine waking up on Christmas morning and not having the thrill of Santa Claus, or going to sleep at night and not thinking, oh my God, a magical.
Are these last three?
No.
Yenny, Ashanti, Yamari, Jamalette, and then that's it. Edwin, you already talked.
Yeah, so without all these fictional characters, childhood wouldn't be as, I guess, substantial as it should have been. I'm not saying that everybody's childhood was like that or filled with these good ideas, but I'm saying that to rob these children of these like memories or ideas, it's kind of like taking a piece of them away.
Can I reply to that?
10 minutes on the same question.
A lot of parents, more specifically, don't let their kids believe in Santa Claus because they're afraid that if their kids believe in Santa Claus and later find out that Santa Claus isn't real, then their kids won't believe in God when they tell him God exists. Because they can't.
Yenny's the last.
They can't see God. They can't see Santa Claus.
Yeah, but who's to say? I mean, I'm speaking like on a broad spectrum. Who's to say God is real?
let's not get into that.
Exactly.
Yenny. Yenny.
So adding what to Esther said before, so do you think that the truth, when you say the truth, if you say the truth to the kids or to young people, do you think that would take their innocence away from them?
But what age do you think you should?
Okay.
Next question.
Let me
10 minutes on one question.
No.
This is how seminar works.
Yeah.
Just go into
So wait. So how do you say something?
Kinda holding the phone.
I want to say something. So, what Esther said and what Yenny said and what Janelle said, I think there has to be like a transitional phase from like fictional to realistic, and that part would be like in like their teen years, because they do need I think that the children do need like a fantasy world.
So you're talking about the transitional phase John Marie went through?
No,
That she went and found all her teeth.
No, a smooth transitional phase. Not that she goes into her drawer and sees her body parts or something.
No, listen, here's one thing. I feel like parents should not necessarily twist the story, but at least reveal the truth. Because what my mom told me about Santa Claus was that he used to exist, but then he had died, and now everybody's playing his part to make it seem like it's real. That I could believe, because I know like he's not real, but at the same time he used to be real. So that is still, I'm still living in a fantasy, but I'm also with reality. That's
I think,
okay.
okay, I think it's like to connect this all back to the book, because we got kind of far.
Yeah.
But talking about the transitional phase and everything, Hagar, like, okay, well, I'm gonna just read this excerpt and then y'all just tell me what you think from it. Pretty woman, he thought. Pretty little black-skinned woman who wanted to kill for love, die for love. The pride, the conceit of these dormant women amazed him. They were always women who had been spoiled children, whose whims had been taken seriously by adults, and who grew up to be the stingiest, grittiest people on earth, and out of their stinginess grew their stingy little love that ate everything in sight. So, like, when they're talking about how they had been such spoiled children, and then they were almost taken, like, as a joke, like, how do you transition? Is there really truly any transitional phase? And then to what point, like, do you have to cut it off? Like, for me, like, when I read this part and then, like, finishing the book when Hagar dies, it's like she never had that transitional phase, and by the time she did transition, it was too late. It just killed her. She didn't have that she didn't have that choice.
There's a motif in the book, if you notice, like women who love men too much, they get abandoned. Like with Ruth, like Ruth loved her father, and then her father abandoned her and married her off, and he died. And Hagar loved Milkman, and he rejected her. And Rina was left by Solomon. So all of the women who were really dependent, and so I guess who just loved their men too much, were abandoned. And only I remember in one of the chapters, Milkman had like something going on with the prostitute, Sweet. Was it Sweet? Yeah, Sweet. Okay. And he saw Sweet as his equivalent, and that was the only time like love worked. I don't know.
I noticed another motif in the book, and that was flight. If you notice at the end of the book how he's jumping to. So what do you think flight represents to Milkman and to everyone else in the story?
I think in the book, flight represents like to just be free to be who you are. Not necessarily to fly, but like to be free and be, instead of like how Milkman was, like they viewed him as the younger version of his dad. He just wanted to be free, just wanted to be who he was, not people looking at him as his dad.
And I think that's why he put it at the end of the book. Like, at the end of the book, he had realized who he was and where he came from. And that's what, like, made him free. Like, he didn't have to be chained up to what other people told him. He had figured it out by himself.
Do you guys think Solomon really flew?
One of my things was going to be, what does flying mean in a sense? Like, what does Tori Morrison mean by flying?
Because I think everybody has different perceptions of flying. Like, everybody has different perceptions of love. Like, nobody thinks love is the same thing. Like, I had an argument with Chelsea over this.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah. So what do you think it means, like, for you or like for everybody else? Because like the media, they have come up with like a broad, like this meaning that I don't particularly like agree with. So do you guys go along with what the media, like, they tell you what it means, or do you have like a specific, not a specific meaning, but like a different perspective of it?
Love or just in general? There's many different types of love. So the
Love,
one, you said love, right?
Anything.
So the way the media portrays things could be a different aspect of love. I feel like there's like they usually portray the love for like let's take Valentine's Day for example. They usually portray the love of a significant other, but there's also the love for your mom, the love for a pet, the love for a sibling, the love for a friend. Like I feel like the media portrays only one aspect of it when there's so many more.
I want to say spread it like think of like beyond media. Like in the book, they didn't have media. They had like ancestors and like the town. So like it's instead of media, make it like stories again with perception. Social class. How does that affect your reasoning or their reasoning? Rather?
Back to the well, I'm just gonna take a complete turn here. You said about the town, right? Susan Bird, she first lied to Milkman when she first came in because she was like, oh, she was here and I couldn't tell you the truth about her because how would that make me seem like that would give me a bad perception, like that would give her a bad perception of my family, and she was gonna spread it out. She was like, I guess she liked to gossip a lot, so like her friend. So do you think it was like this like the people that surround us cause us to lie, like make us lie about who we are? And should she have done that? Like shouldn't she have been proud of her? I mean, like I think everybody has different like feelings towards their family, but do you think it's okay for you to lie about who you are and your family just because the audience or the people that surround you, your peers, don't accept them?
I think it's okay to a certain extent. I don't think it's okay, but at the same time, if you feel like you're in danger or you know you're going to face a big consequence, then it is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it all depends on what you're facing, what situation you're in.
Okay, but in her case, she was just trying to keep her like status. Like she didn't want to tell them that her sister, or I don't remember like their relationship, but she didn't want them to know that she had run off with a black guy. Do you think that's okay? Like it was just her like the way they looked at her.
If she was protecting herself from like I said, consequences, like anything like that, then it's okay. But if not, then no, I don't think she should have done that.
So would you lie about something like that?
If I was in that situation, no. I mean, if I'm surrounded by all black people, when I say I ran off with the white guy, I mean a black guy.
No, but it wasn't like her. It wasn't a black person. It was like this woman, and like this. I think the reason she didn't spoke up about her family was because she was gonna her friend was gonna spread it out, and then it would bring her like a bad name. But would that like should that have been consequence enough to lie about it?
If you really care about your reputation, then yes.
Do you think that this is like her self-esteem? Does it bring into place her self-esteem?
I think that's. I guess
if somebody looks at you in a certain way, they will treat you a certain way, and like some people take it to a far extent where they will beat you down and put you down to like the point where like you just feel like you're worthless because of that certain situation. So I think that it will have an effect on her self-esteem.
So you're saying that her self-esteem is low?
I'm not saying. I mean,
it would have been.
It would have been if she.
So does that mean her self-esteem is over dependent on what other people think? And is our self-esteem over is it dependent on what other people think? Because when I think of self-esteem, I think of like myself. Like, you know, like, even though other people, yeah, like, they can make you feel bad, but then that goes back to, like, bullying, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but like for me personally, like the way I grew up, everybody tells me, oh, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're pretty. So that kind of gives me the confidence that, okay, yeah, I'm cute, I'm pretty. And so like the way I receive, or the way I put myself, the way I feel, the way I receive my confidence is unless somebody gives me a compliment. Because if not, I would look at myself and feel like, not worthless, but I would feel like, you know, I would second guess certain things, certain situations. So yeah, so because I grew up and learned, well, not learned, but I've been so used to people complimenting me, that's the way I feel like, okay, it could be true, or it is true.
Next question.
Okay. This is another motif in the book. The significance of names. So, like, what connections can y'all make if, like, has there been any change in the significance of names from the beginning of the book to naming not Dr. Street to the end of the book where we find out about Milkman's ancestors and how, like, everything is kind of based around them, like a lot of the towns and a lot of the names that the children have are kind of from all his ancestry. Is there a change in significance, or is it just because he finally realized that it's more important now to the story?
To be like, I think an example of that is the way that Solomon turned into Sugar Man into the modern day song, if you know what I mean. Like, the song is about Solomon, but like in the beginning of the book, like the Hagar or Pilate was singing the song about Sugar Man. So like the song that was about Solomon turned into the song about Sugar Man. So what do you think is the connection between the names?
Well, from what I know about in the Bible, Solomon had a lot of wives. So I guess that's how Sugar Man is pertained in here, having a lot of women.
So he's just modernized.
Yeah.
Why do you think, what's her name, Toni Morrison, why do you think she chose names from the book, names from the Bible? Like, why? Because she chose 1 Corinthians and she chose Pilate and Ruth, yeah. So
probably because, I don't know. I personally don't really know the Bible,
With
but
Pilate's name, I feel as though her name was meant to like throw us off, because when we were first reading about Pilate, I was like unsure about how to feel about her. Like, her name is just this evil thing, like it has an evil cast over it, and then she's like the most nurturing person in the book. So I was so confused, and I was just waiting for her to do something evil, but it didn't happen.
well, they tried to make it seem like she did something evil. Like, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe like these names, like whatever they mean in the Bible, or like whoever it is in the Bible, like they try to make it connect to how the person act or who the person is in the book.
Aside from just how Toni Morrison takes names from the Bible, if you look on page 355, there's like a whole list of names, like of everybody in the family. Like there's Macon Dead, Sing Bird, Paul Bird, Pilate, Reba Hagar. It goes like on and on. So like, does she gives everybody a specific name? It's like Blue Boy and Gray Eye. Like, these things are representative of the people, and I think she puts all this toward the end of the book because she's like saying everybody kind of comes into their self, like they're all completed at the end of the story. So you're kind of figuring out where everybody belongs. It's along with them. They're finding out where they all belong.
But then I just thought about what DJ said about Pilate and how that threw her off, and how Pilate was this bad person in the Bible, but in here she's like really nurturing. So I was wondering how they have opposite characters, like not necessarily.
No, but like they made it seem like she was bad, but then at the end of the book, it realized that she actually wasn't bad.
The content of the Bible, like Pilate didn't want to kill Jesus. It was just that.
Right, he had good intentions, but he had to basically.
Public, they were like, kill him, and if he didn't, then he was gonna
suffer the consequences.
So he had to go along.
So do you think that in like real life that people actually do fit into your names eventually? I mean, think about the meaning of your name if you know it. Because I was talking about this to someone yesterday, and their name meant noble, trustworthy, and then leader, and then they actually turned out to be a leader, trustworthy, and noble. So do you think that actually does happen?
Or do you think that people just take their name and the meaning and try to make themselves that?
But then
Well,
think about people don't always
some people
know
don't
that
know
their
the meaning
name-
of their
I know, but I'm
name.
just saying, like for the people that, let's say for people that do know the meaning of the name, do you think they like, or do you think that their parents, once your parents name you, they take a lot of time to think about it and what your name's gonna mean and all this stuff. So, and they're usually, or the people who name you are usually the people who guide you to be whoever you're gonna be. So do you think that they like take the meaning of their name and try to make their child that way?
No, I think you just
Personally,
go into
my
it.
parents. Sorry, Mike. You can talk.
You-
My parents don't even know what Blanca means. Like they just named me after my aunt. But I went online and figured out like the meaning of the color white, and like they didn't know what it means. They still don't know because I haven't told them. They just named me after my aunt supposedly, and then my cousin she was born 5 days after me, and they were gonna name her that too, but I was born first, so I got the name. But like they didn't know the meaning, so they don't drive me towards something. I think at the end, like you don't like when we talk about it, right? Do I look like a Blanca? I don't know what a Blanca looks like. I mean,
But some people when you say your name, oh you don't look like a
yeah, but
you don't look like a I know, but I'm just saying some people say that, so
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, how do you know how somebody's
it's kind of
name
your
should look
perception
like?
of what other people's names were, and then you take that into consideration. Like you wouldn't think that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but how?
Being a
Go
song.
ahead, Rachel.
Back to the meaning of the name. Not every name has a meaning. Like for my name, my mom just picked that name because it sounds good in Chinese. It doesn't sound good here, but it sounds good in Chinese.
How does it sound in Chinese?
None of your business. It sounds good in Chinese, so that's why she picked the name. She didn't pick the name for me to be like a future character or something. She didn't know how my character was. So she just picked the name that because it's unique and it sounds good.
Oh, I have something. Esther, if like you said that our parents they like tell us, like they guide us, right? But do you think that it's in a way? I mean, it's good that they do, but sometimes parents can be like over, like they exaggerate, and that goes to what we're doing in French. Like how the father he wanted his son to be like a good soccer player. But like Dylan, he liked soccer, but he wasn't that good at it. And then his father got mad at him. I guess because his father wanted to live his dreams through him. Do you think that's like a bad thing? Like our parents want the best for us, but sometimes we don't think that. Sometimes we don't think that the best. Sometimes the best for them isn't the best for us.
I agree with that statement. I wasn't saying that. I was just putting that.
No, I know.
Into the,
Yeah, I was just taking it to like a different extent.
I don't think that names make people. I think people make their names. Like with Pilate, the name probably before the murder of Jesus or whatever. Pilate didn't mean a negative thing. It didn't have a negative connotation. And so after what Pilate did, and that's why
That gave it the name
that's why
reputation.
I think that people make their names, not the other way around.
So
I thought this was gonna be interesting. Okay, you guys know who General Lee was? Yes. What do you think about him?
What?
No, it's gonna come into what somebody said. But just what do you guys think about him?
We don't really remember.
He was a leader of the Confederate States in the Civil War. What does that make you think about him?
He was a Southerner.
Okay, But does it bring like a negative connotation against them?
Yeah. Like, you
Okay.
assume he's racist.
Yeah. Okay. So then, I just want to say what Colleen said about how names give you. If you're named by something bad, then they'll think everybody will think that you're also bad. Pilot, for example, right? And then Robert E. Lee, they put in the book it said that they named a pig after him.
Yeah.
But so I was like, maybe the pork was going to be bad, right? But at the end they killed him and he tasted good to them. And it's kind of weird that even though his name was.
But maybe it wasn't like the taste. It was the animal.
No.
The animal.
No, the
They
way
named
this-
him after a pig. Like they.
Yeah, a
named-
swine. You know what a pig is?
A pig.
A pig is considered dirty.
Exactly. So do you think they consider General Lee dirty? Like they didn't.
Wrap it up.
Like.
Yeah, they thought he was dirty, but then after eating him,
So it's more than just like how it tasted.
Yeah,
Oh.
stop. That's
Oh.
it.
Stop.
So I was gonna ask about Reba and the diamond. Yeah.
To wrap it up, what did you guys think about the ending of the story? How it
I
ended?
thought it was confusing.
Me too. It was too many, it was a lot of different aspects that were getting tied together, but I don't know.
Did anybody? I read it, but I didn't like fully
Did
understand.
anybody get a hidden meaning from the end? How it ended?
Other than the motif of flight.
Okay.
What do you think she chose to end it like that?
I think she wanted us to get our own meaning from
Yeah,
the end.
she wanted it to be everything.
Give her own ending. That was the one part of the story where she didn't give us everything.
Right.
Does anybody like the book?
I thought it was okay.
It was okay.
It would have been better if I would have like understood it more.
So like I think if we go back and we read it a second time, we would like
I
it
still
more.
think I would.
That reminds me of remember when we had a sub in here and he said when he read the Metamorphosis,
Yeah.
he read it and he didn't understand it, but then after talking it over with his teacher and stuff, and he read it the second time, he like got the full understanding.
Yeah,
I
because he
think
was
they'll do
like,
the same thing.
they were talking about how he thought
Alright.
that Gregor
Yeah.
was actually a
Everybody
bug.
So this has been Group 1.
Yeah.
Let me
This
show
has been
group
Group
1.
1, Song of Solomon, chapters 13 to 15. Sign in.
Okay.